Okay, so I would like to remember how it was in the beginning. In the beginning, Agile was a minority underground movement. That's how it was in the beginning. It was revolutionary and subversive. It was really changing the belief and the philosophy of professional software development. At the time, you had to struggle to convince a coworker of yours to try with you some of the practices of Agile software development because they were counterintuitive. Imagine go to someone and tell, we are going to do this thing. It's called pair programming. So we will have two people working on the same task on just one keyboard. How that is going to improve efficiency? Or you could say, we are going to do unit testing, or even better, test-driven development. So everyone will have to write twice the code, the feature as well as the tests. How this is going to make us go faster? Sounds crazy, right? Or continuous refactoring. You don't have to get the design right immediately. We continuously improve the design. That's crazy. Releasing software, it's painful, a new version of software, so we're going to do it more often. So figure out convincing someone of doing these crazy things with you, or talking with the company or with your manager and say, let's try to do Agile. We've done it before. How do I know it will work? I'm sure it will not work for us. But nowadays, Agile is mainstream. Everyone, you don't have to convince almost anyone anymore. Everyone is doing it, or everyone wants to do it. So this is an advantage of having Agile mainstream, but it also comes with many disadvantages. Some disadvantages that frustrate and concern experienced Agile practitioners. And this section was about discussing the problems that Agile being mainstream brings and find out solutions. And this section was about asking people in the room to do the work for us. We also had a panel of experts. Lucy from the university bringing the academic point of view in the room. Giovanni Astroni, a very experienced Agile practitioner, connected with the community, bringing that point of view. And a broad audience in the room. Young novice practitioner, bringing energy and a fresh point of view, and other more experienced practitioner. And then, there was me too. Sorry about that. I'm Luca. I'm Lean and Agile 18 years since the beginning of the Agile movement, more or less. I feel like being experienced in Lean and Agile, so usually help individuals, teams, organizations, and leaders adopting modern way of working as Agile. The challenge dealing with the problems that mainstream Agile bring is something that everyone has to deal with, but we need help from the whole community. So here you find a link with interesting ideas about connecting with the community, the Agile community, because this problem cannot just be resolved by one person. I'm going to share with you several links with the QR code or a short link. And I guess it will be interesting for you to have a look after the conference or quite soon if they are interesting or not. So, what problems are you seeing? What problems are you experiencing with Agile now being mainstream? I'm going to give you an account of what the crowd, the people, told and find out, but I would like for you also to start to do something similar very quickly. I will give you a couple of minutes to reflect first individually, to think about which problems do you see with Agile nowadays being mainstream. So I will ask you to take a post-it, write 1, 2 post-it, 1, 2 problem on post-it individually. The rule of post-it is 1 problem per post-it. Write it uppercase as if someone else would really like to read and understand what you're writing, because that's what will happen. Large consulting companies, now Agile is mainstream, so even large consulting companies want to sell Agile, but they never run their own company using Agile, and many of them never seen Agile, what really looks like in Agile software development once, and so they end up selling a fake version of Agile, and that's what someone said. Another comment was, focus on business agility. It means that sometimes we software developers may focus on the technical aspect, but we forget the end goal, that is to create a tangible and lasting benefit for the business. So this was the first set of comments. Another set was about the size. The scale, and here we have three groups of topics. The first one is Agile at scale. It's challenging. Scale itself is challenging. Doing things in the big, in the large. Cross-team coordination and dependencies, when you have a lot of people working together, become even more challenging to deal with those things. That was another comment. And then another comment, another problem identified is when you are doing Agile in the large and you have a mix of Agile and non-Agile teams. That also can be challenging. How can the two types of teams work together if they are working in different ways? Another group was Agile at scale. It's made even more challenging by, fake is coming again. Fake scale Agile framework. So people in the room had very strong opinion against the scale framework, and I was one of them. I don't want to hide behind my laptop. I take my part of the blame. And many mentioned specifically SAFE, one of them. Someone raised concern if it is even Agile. Someone mentioned how can we scale and remain true to Agile. The third group was enterprise architecture as a barrier. Some mentioned still as a team, so you may have a large architecture, then you have many teams, small, that don't talk to each other and work on different parts of the architecture. How can be everything harmonized and work together? Someone else mentioned in this group regulatory barriers to fast and frequent releases. So it becomes difficult to change the code base in general, and more specifically the code base. And then messy legacy system, of course, they don't help. You need, if you want to do Agile software development, even your architecture needs to be Agile. And when you're starting from a legacy system, it's more challenging. If you have done that, legacy system is more challenging. About scaling, this is the second that I'm sharing with you. So here is a few stories about the large successful companies achieved agility at scale. So just to see how they do it, there may be some lesson learned here. These links were not mentioned in our session. I'm just adding them now because I think it could be interesting. So those are last time addition to they're not an account.
You're lucky to have all those tiny links available to you.
Sorry?
You're lucky to have all those tiny links available to you.
Yeah,
no one else has.
I have a lot of fantasy with names. Okay, another one. This is so first are companies that succeed. Here are a few stories of companies that use scale framework. They all say we succeed. This is a success case that we are sharing with you. But then when you look deeper, well, look what I found and judge yourself. And the last one, this is of comments from leading experts specifically about SAFe. They didn't go soft at all. But maybe interesting for you to form your own opinion. Okay, this was about the mood in the room in relation to scaling. Another set of problems were around agile practices and related skills. One comment, one problem identified was low quality agile. Specifically, the comment was about focus on processes and not on people and interaction, or not enough focus on technical excellence and technical expertise. What run in the computer are the bits that we write with help from the computer, so we need to do that work well to make things work right. Lack of focus on customer value. So situation where the product owner is not empowered to make the decision, doesn't have the support, or is not qualified at times. Still focus on negotiation over collaboration. So it's hard to collaborate with the customers or simply with other teams and departments. And the user is absent. One of the most powerful things that I have experienced in software development is the luxury to have the users or the customers next door and in the middle of the feature go and have a chat with them and realize how off my assumptions were and how easy I could get the work done once I could talk with them, and not in the beginning, because in the beginning everything is abstract. While you are developing the feature and you can go to them and say, oh, look, you can see that, you can touch that, now we can have a conversation about something tangible. So second comment was about lack of soft skills. Specifically, people mentioned facilitation, influencing the culture. Sometimes people in the organization being hopeless and assuming that it is not allowed here. So people is not taking the risk or the initiative because they just assume someone will say no. They not even try. They are hopeless. Someone mentioned team dysfunctionalities, no self-organization and no autonomy, no commitment. I guess intended as when you have 3-4 bosses all asking you to do work at the same time, and you say yes to everyone, you or people in the team, but no one can really take ownership of that because work comes faster than they can do. So they say yes to everyone, everyone, but there's no real commitment. Distributed team is extremely hard. Sometimes they work most of the time, and it's difficult to work in a distributed way. No multidisciplinary team, that's what another comment that people in the room make or wrote on post-it. The hierarchy and difficult power relation, and then command and control in disguise. So we are doing Agile, but it's still reality, command and control. A lot of different practices. Well, SAFe has a 400 plus page manual. I want to kill myself with the manual. Measure of success can be elusive. What are the critical success factors? What to measure? And then someone mentioned, I think it was Lucy, I guess, not enough researchers, practitioner overlapping and collaboration. I just read the post-it, but I guess it was you. Could be. And then after collecting all those ideas on post-its, clustering them and discussing them also between tables, because we have plenty of time, so we let people from one table go and see the conversation from the other tables and exchange ideas. We made a short fishbowl format type of conversation to let people share their thoughts openly.
If people don't know what fishbowl format is, can you explain in 1 minute?
So we had 3 or 4 seats like here right now. 3 people started to sit. Initially it was Lucy, Giovanni, maybe myself, and there was an empty chair. And people may ask a question or say something and then stop talking. And if someone wants to join the conversation, sit on the empty chair, but then someone would need to leave another empty chair free. So that's how it works. Is it clear? So it's a way for everyone in the room to contribute in the conversation and talk to the whole audience, bring questions, but also answer questions. And it's more fluid than post-it, right? First, we had the stable level of interaction. This was more deal room interaction. And I tried to capture some of the conversation. So, okay, it's colored. I'm reading of those conversations, but it's better than nothing. So I'm reporting some of the conversations that were there. So someone says software is eating the world. Software is there, is more and more pervasive. So software engineering is there to stay. And then we need to think about every topic that is related about effectiveness in software development. This is about software development, so I think this is really on topic with what we are discussing today and with the conference itself. So technical excellence is very relevant. It's just not making the work, but making it with an extremely good technical excellence quality. The one discussion was again about business and tech divide. Business and technology inside an organization should be equals. They deserve the same attention and the same level of autonomy. But then when you look at your business and you switch off the computers, can you still run your business or not if the computers are down? Because if you cannot, then business and technology are one and the same. They are not even two different things that need to work together. They are the same things. And the people in the organization need to come to this realization and start to work as if they were one and the same. Not forget the success of Agile. So, okay, we are talking about the problems, but let's not forget about the success. If nowadays Agile is mainstream, it's because we have plenty of success, and we had the companies that did that had a very strong competitive advantage. Companies were facing problems, and the techniques from Agile software development solved some of those problems and improved things. And you can hear that from anecdote, word of mouth, expert and people in the industry that is trusted in the industry, that you can trust their expert judgment, but there are also case studies, books, and research paper out there. We want to do more research paper and increase the collaboration between academic and practitioner, but we still have some, so let's remember those. And another conversation was about how difficult again it is to define success. The conversation was very open here, and the answer is not easy at all. So I'm just bringing back two thoughts. One thought that I mentioned before, tangible and lasting benefit for the business. So what is the end goal of the work that we do with software? What is success? And then something that came out is success for a method of working from Alistair Coburn, one of the co-authors of the Agile Manifesto. He defined success for a method when, with that method, people successfully deliver more often than with other methods. And at the same time, people is happy. People doing the work say, oh yes, I would like to continue with this line of work, with this way of working. When this happens more often, we can call that a success. And then a comment was about lesson being forgotten. Maybe it's the type of comment that people doing Agile from 18 years say because they are nostalgic, but you know that software development is a social activity today, and in order to understand many of the practices, it's important to know something about those that invented the practices, the context, why they invented the practices, and maybe also have a direct link with people that was there, because then you can really get the sense of it. I don't think you can learn to ride a bicycle or to swim from a book. You usually learn that from another person. And since software development, one part of software development is a social activity, we need that connection, and we need that connection with the root of the practices.
There are lots of good lessons that have been forgotten, not just that one. I mean, things like sitting together and doing code reviews.
Yeah.
We found that used to give huge amounts of benefit, and now people don't generally do it.
Yeah, it's like marketing. We always to Agile is popular, and now there is a market behind that. In the beginning, there was a crazy group of people like open source movement. We love it and we do it in our spare time. Money is not the main motivation. But now that it's mainstream, it's part of the market of the industry. And so you know how marketing works. If I don't come here and I don't tell you something new, you don't want to listen to me. I say to me, everyone. So you have to invent something new. And layers of new that has nothing behind it, and then we lose the connection on the simple things like sitting together and doing code review and many other things. So this was the line of I would like to give you the link of a Google document that have the pictures of all the post-it from the session. So you can look at that without my filter and my trying to make sense of those things. And I will really try, if you send me the email with the pictures, I will try to have also the outcome of this session there to make sense of it and to have it.
Luca, can you determine a tiny URL right now as we are speaking for summary of this session? Will it be Minispa-2020?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. That sounds good.
So then we move to talk about the solutions, right? And I would like to do this, like before, to give you time we heard about problems. I would like to do like before 2 times individually with Post-it. Try to think about the solutions. The first set of comments was around learn to bridge the skill gap. So one group says learning as a social activity. People suggested learn from each other, look around. Someone said help others to learn. Someone suggested build communities of practices. And another person says give everyone a voice when you learn and when you collaborate in a community of practice. Another group that you find there is relearn the fundamentals. I think it's something that I mentioned before. It came out also in our conversations. Someone said bring teams back to first principles. Know the history. And by the way, the first link that I shared with you, you find some useful links behind that post. Master the basics, as someone else said. Another group is about the soft skill, teaching soft skills, including psychological safety. And another group is share the learning from the academia, tell the stories. So I think Lucy mentioned that there are a lot of studies going on in the academia, but they not necessarily reach practitioners.
Well, they sit behind paywalls for some of the publications. But there are quite a lot, there are overlaps. There are journals where you can get access.
Yeah.
But it is limiting.
Yeah, limited interaction, the collaboration. In many fields, the separation between practitioner and the academic world has been detrimental. Sometimes it was just a join of interest and power. They were both doing their own work, but they were saying they were working together because they raised their profile. But we really don't.
I mean, part of the challenge is how long it takes. We do the research, how long it takes to get published, where it goes. You may not get published for a year or two. So you might do all this good research and get this information, but if you can't get it out there,
get lost.
Well, businesses are wanting around, and you work with us, we do a case study, tell us what happened.
And then you move on.
I think that's cool.
Yes, that's what we're trying to get out of it.
Another comment was about, okay, continue learning, but do it in context. Context is important. One group was about continuous learning and experimental mindset. Someone say, yeah, we should do that as a mindset of a learning organization. Someone else said, never assume you know the answer and test your assumption instead. So even when you think you know something, treat that as an experiment and test it with data. Yeah, this idea of agile and feedback loops. Someone else said, retrospect, keep what works, change what doesn't, measure and report. So continuously try new things and keeping what works and moving on. Another group is about learning guided by self-reflection. I think it's similar to the last comment. Individually, so individual self-reflection for individual learning, but also as a team. And as a team, find your values and your priorities to direct what you want to learn, because there are so many things to learn. Learn guided by your context. Ask what is your motivation, someone said, intending that as a part of your context. Reason and discuss about strategy and implementation in context, because things works or fail always in context, and make people aware of the importance of context. One of the key learning of Agile is to rely less on universal laws and instead look at what works in context. So context is important. Another set of comments was around bridging that business gap. One group is about involved decision makers from the business side. Someone said get C-level involvement. Someone else involve top management, at least occasionally, in sprint demo and reviews. Bring them, invite them, create those opportunities to be in contact. Someone mentioned business agility. Remember, if you write software and you think about the business, it's easier to communicate with them and to have a connection when you know why you're doing things. Tell better agile stories, starting with why when you talk with business people. So you software developers doing practicing modern way of working. So, start with the why, with the business, and try to connect with the why and also with their own why. Play golf, that I think that was a funny comment, but I think it means find the business people, go to find them where they are. Could be play golf, could be something else. Bridge the gap between business and software development. Someone suggested coffee corners or informal situation where business people can learn about digital products and software development and how team works. And then there was a set of comments that I wasn't able to collect under any specific title, so I just share with you. Act with integrity. As a professional and practitioner, call out, someone say fake agile, not to blame but to fix and improve. When you see something that is not right, say it. In order to improve things, not to blame others. Practice excellence, focus on quality and on value. Think big and act small. I think this comment was a reaction about, there are so many things to fix and to improve, and people start to get anxious. So someone come up and say, think big and act small. Take responsibility as an individual. I don't know if you know Agile Alliance. In the beginning, Agile Alliance has been the home of Agilists when it was a minority movement, but someone say, where are you? In this conversation, we didn't hear the voice of Agile Alliance. But maybe that's why we take initiative and we start to do something ourselves. About the scaling, Giovanni and myself will have a session at Agile Next. Any comment that you want to go?
Comment on going where the business is, what the play golf comment.
Do you want to again?
Yeah, sure. I think this is in response to the comments around going where the business is. To me, that reminds me of something I can't remember where I saw recently around making sure people remember the most important part of software development isn't the coding, it's the understanding what you're building. And I think there's a flip side to that is reminding our developers who are writing the code that actually understanding who's using the codes and understanding why you were creating the code is infinitely more important than sitting on your own with your headphones on writing the code. So I think it's not just about going to the business to be seen as an ambassador and doing the right thing. That's where the actual learning is to be had about what we're doing.
The connection, the understanding, the collaboration.
Yeah, so I guess in summary, it's essential that you do it rather than it's doing them a favour, so to speak.
Anyone want to?
That's an interesting point because on the one hand, you want people to be skilled. You want them to know what they're talking about and likely to succeed in what they're trying to do. On the other hand, skills are a combination of mix and individual small atomic skill. So, again, I work with a variety of professionals. Sometimes I work with doctors, for example. And we were discussing something, and it turns out half of what a doctor does is the same applies to other person. So the other day, a dentist was doing some reconstructive work. And what we together discovered was they had to do the analysis manually. But then the reconstruction of the tooth was better done by a robot than by a manual dentist. So is there a very real risk or a very real opportunity for a pure software engineer, if there is such a thing, not to exist in a generation from now? And what do people feel about that? Anyone? Otherwise, all right.
That's a comment that's been made for about the last 40 years, I think. We're going to have drag and drop tools that the AIs will be able to use with absolutely no help. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe it won't, but it still feels like robot butlers and flying cars a few years away.
Okay.
Just on the topic of fake agile, I mean, we are supposedly doing agile. We have a team of 30 plus doing sprints. And you can imagine the communication problems we have with 30 people trying to work on a sprint together. It's just a nightmare. And basically, you know, we're just pretending to be agile and then delivering waterfall at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's pretty common, and I see a situation like this in two ways. In one positive way is that we start to do something. It's not always perfect, but we struggle to improve. While I was learning, I find just to make an example, test-driven development, I was in a plateau for 2-3 years until I met the right person that showed me how to move up. But I was always there struggling to improve. So that's a positive view of that. You are feeling the pain, but sometimes you will find out. Then there is the other side, the commercial side, that if I want to sell you something, I can sell you something easy, I can take the money and leave you there. And fake agile can be good enough for me to do the sell, and you will never move from there because you pay the money, you got what you paid for, and you think that it's done. Which of the two do you think you are? Which place do you see yourself?
I suspect our team is in the second one. I think the overall management feel, yeah, we've bought into Agile, and that's the way we're going, even though actually they're nowhere near it.
So I think as a community, that's where we need to do something. We need to do something. This is the reason of this session came from, I think from there.
But do you think now that big companies, I do work for one, have bought into the idea of Agile and are now selling it to their customers, do you think that horse is bolted, it's too late? Because you're not going to persuade companies like IBM, who I don't work for, to say, oh, actually we're doing it all wrong, you need to do it this way to be really agile. They're always going to push their solution.
I think, but that's just my observation. They are getting backslash, they are publishing things. Actually, they hire people that are exceptionally experienced in Agile, but then they do their marketing people to write post-it and publish them, and you read them, and if you know something about, you say, this is just ridiculous, they don't know what they're talking about. And some failure is happening, some promises is not being maintained. So they play this game for a while, but the results start to become available, visible. The point is, are we as a practitioner have the skill to say, look, in this other way it works, I can show you that I can make better. So I think this is our responsibility as a practitioner to say, okay, that doesn't work, but you no, I can make it work in this way. So I think there is a chance, because they are failing. We know that doesn't work. So I'm hopeful. And I want to share the hope with you. Try to be hopeful.
Right.
I mean, as software engineers, we want to write good systems. We're not out there to try and fail. And despite all these challenges, the Agile waterfall, we deliver systems. We build things. They may not be perfect, but we get things out there. So it's not saying Agile doesn't work. We're coping with it. We've got skilled software engineers, testers, the whole team's doing good things and working in the constraints they have. I suppose it's empowering us as well. Say, if it's not working, how can we change? If we're sitting in an environment where you've got to report every month on your progress on a RAG chart, that isn't in line with how we manage our sprints, how we work, and it's trying to get that understanding outside of what we do.
Yeah.
We're not forgetting what we do brilliant. We do some really, really good stuff, and the better our culture and environment, the better we can be.
Yeah.
That's what I was used to. I haven't developed for about 10 years, but when I was, it was that frustration of we've got a really good team of people working together well, but you're trying to do it this way, not that way. It doesn't work for us, and we need it in context.
Yeah. And
it makes me feel sad because it's like you want to act with integrity and you want to be responsible and you want to say I'm proud of the product I'm delivering, but you have these projects. Like one team I was talking to last year, it's like we've been told we're agile, and the PR side is like, look, we delivered, it's great, and then you talk to software engineers and nearly died, it's like nearly that super near miss with deadline, and you think, why do we get put in these positions by other people? How can we have the voice? Can we be Google that says we don't do this, we need to do that?
Yeah, not being hopeless and trying to change things, or sometimes just trying to change company and run away. Sometimes the best things that you can do is just run away. I have hope because some of the links that I shared you are some of the companies that are excelling in agility at scale, and you see that some of their practices build upon extreme programming. People think extreme programming is dead because there is no market behind that, but the most successful company have their technical practices built on that. So there is no branding, but the advancement in the industry come from there. I read a book, Ralph Stacey, about organizations that shift the paradigm from people, managers, leaders being able to predict the future and direct the whole company versus realizing the local dynamic of people doing the work and how things happen in an emergent way in organization. Ralph was writing his book in '93, the first one, so he could be crying and being hopeless, but with Agile and with the larger movement, we are slowly moving in that direction. And sometimes it takes time. So there are two things. Good companies are succeeding right now, and the other thing is that the changes sometimes is slower than we would like, but it's changing in that direction because nowadays Stacey and his work and Canadian and other stuff is more.
Okay, well, I will ask Lucy one more question before we finish. And that is this. Many in our profession, or in our broad profession, software engineering, tend to be people who are good at research, who are good at intellectual activity, who are good at analysis, and who are good at building on those lessons learned. Which being the case, what is the future of software engineering in the academia? Do we need the academia for software engineering to improve on the one hand? On the other hand, some of the practices that academia has about, the publishing cycle and the rest of 4-year PhD and so on, is it agile enough for the software community to get the most out of it?
I'd say the question about how we work with practitioners. And with this huge amounts of research and good things going on, motivation of software engineers, you've got the technical level detail, you've got like Peggy's networks that are looking at Agile. We're trying to work together.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Can I make a point on that? I think your question was about academia and what they put into it. My daughter's first year computer science degree, and you see what they go through at A level and then go into universities. And when we went around universities to open days, there's a lot of emphasis, probably quite rightly so, because that they're just on A levels. They've got to learn about programming. They've got to learn about computer systems and networks and principles and things like that. And there's a lot of emphasis on that. But also then when you look around to it and say, okay, when you get to like third year or even going to masters, where's software engineering? Where's modelling? Where's design concepts? And you don't get those covered on an undergraduate course.
We do. We have
bits. But it's not a strong emphasis.
But there is areas of research around that and looking at how.
Yeah, but research is for the postgraduates.
But we were in a software studio for our second year. That's where they work on a 23-week project for people for a team and how they go through the software.
So did you teach design at UML?
Yes, that's covered. But it's not. I mean, it's not.
No, it's not strong.
It's not strong. No,
it's not strong.
They're showing different approaches. I mean, the challenge is there's so many different ways. If you're going to embedded systems, you're going to large scale. You're going to. Yeah. You can't capture everything.
No, the point you're making is you can't do everything, and it is an undergraduate course, and there is possibly sometimes the expectation that people on undergraduate courses are having this software engineering kind of focus on it. It's probably a bit too early. It's probably, that's why I mentioned third year of an undergraduate course.
I mean, work placements are a good area. I think I was probably 2 or 3 years into my career before I felt, I wouldn't say competent.
Yeah, it depends on how good your work placement is.
Yes.
Okay, so the lessons learned there are: one, work placement; second, the old conundrum between what is computing, which can be quite different, to what is the software practice, which can be all pervasive and go way beyond computing. But that's a very interesting discussion. Thank you all.